The classroom froze when the door slowly opened. A man in full military uniform stepped inside, 4 silver stars shining on his shoulders. Every student went quiet. The teacher's face turned pale. Just minutes earlier he had laughed and said, "Stop lying. Your dad is not important." The quiet black girl sat in her seat, eyes down, hands shaking. She hadn't argued. She hadn't cried. Now, the man everyone stood up for was walking straight toward her desk. And in that moment, the teacher realized he had humiliated the wrong child. Before we go back and see why the teacher doubted her, take a second to subscribe and stay with us, because what happens next will change how you see truth, dignity, and respect. Her name was Amara Williams. She was 12 years old, soft-spoken, and often overlooked. In her middle school classroom, she sat near the back, never raising her hand unless called on. Teachers described her as quiet but smart. Classmates barely noticed her at all. Amara had learned early that being quiet was safer. Speaking too much often invited questions, and questions sometimes turned into judgment. Her father worked far away most of the year. He wore a uniform she had learned to fold carefully. He never talked about his rank at home. To Amara, he was just Dad, the one who reminded her to do her homework, who taught her discipline, and who hugged her tightly before every long deployment. At school, career day was announced. Each student was asked to share what their parents did for a living. Most kids were excited. Doctors, business owners, engineers, the classroom buzzed with confidence. Amara felt nervous. She didn't want attention. But when her turn came, she spoke softly. "My dad serves in the U.S. military." She said, "He's a general." The room went quiet for a second, then came a few snickers. Mr. Reynolds, the teacher, raised an eyebrow. "A general?" he asked, smiling slightly. Amara nodded. "That's a very big claim," he said. His tone wasn't curious, it was doubtful. And in that moment, Amara felt something familiar, that heavy feeling of being judged before being believed. Mr. Reynolds leaned against his desk and crossed his arms. "Amara," he said, loud enough for the whole class to hear, "you don't need to make up stories to impress people." Her heart dropped. "I'm not making it up," she said quietly. A few students laughed. Someone whispered, "Yeah, right." Mr. Reynolds shook his head. "Generals don't usually have kids sitting silently in the back of public schools," he said. "Let's be honest." The words hit harder than shouting ever could. Amara felt her face burn. She looked down at her notebook, wishing she could disappear. She didn't understand why her truth sounded like a lie to him. "I just wanted to say what my dad does," she whispered. Mr. Reynolds sighed, clearly annoyed. "Enough. Sit down. We're moving on." But the damage was already done. For the rest of the day, Amara barely spoke. Her classmates stared at her differently now. Some with doubt, some with pity, some with quiet amusement. At lunch, she sat alone. Her phone buzzed with a message from her father. "Dad, big day today. Can't wait to see you after school." She stared at the screen, unsure what to say back. Later that afternoon, the principal announced a surprise visit. A guest speaker would be addressing the school. Something about leadership, something about service. Teachers were told to prepare their students. Mr. Reynolds straightened his tie, suddenly serious. "Remember," he said, "show respect." The auditorium filled with students. Amara sat in the middle row, hands folded tightly. Then the doors opened. A man in full military uniform walked in. His posture was strong, his presence commanding. 4 stars gleamed under the lights. Every adult stood immediately. "Please welcome General Williams," the principal announced. Amara's breath caught. That was her dad. He scanned the room calmly. Then his eyes found hers, and his stern face softened into the smallest smile. Mr. Reynolds stared in disbelief. General Williams stepped onto the stage. His voice was steady, confident, and calm. "Thank you for having me," he said. "I'm here to talk about leadership, integrity, and respect." As he spoke, the room was silent. Every word carried weight. Then he paused. "I was told one of my family members attends this school," he said. A few teachers shifted uncomfortably. "My daughter," he continued, "is sitting right here." He gestured toward Amara. Gasps filled the room. Amara froze. "Stand up, sweetheart," he said gently. She stood, legs shaking. "This young lady," he said, "is the bravest person I know." Mr. Reynolds felt his throat tighten. "She once told me," the general continued, "that sometimes people don't believe her truth because they don't think it looks right." The room went deadly quiet. I taught her that integrity means telling the truth, even when it's uncomfortable, he said. And dignity means standing tall, even when others try to shrink you. Then he looked directly at Mr. Reynolds. Disbelief can be louder than lies, he said calmly, and humiliation can come from those who should protect. Mr. Reynolds's face drained of color. I hope every student here learns this. The general said, never measure someone's truth by your own expectations. Applause erupted. Amara felt tears fall, but this time they were not from shame. They were from relief. After the assembly, the school felt different. Teachers whispered. Students stared with new respect. Mr. Reynolds approached Amara slowly. I owe you an apology, he said quietly. I was wrong. Amara nodded. She didn't smile. She didn't argue. She simply accepted it. That afternoon, the principal addressed the staff. Training was announced. Policies were reviewed. Accountability was discussed. But the biggest change wasn't written on paper. It lived in the students. Amara no longer sat in the back. She raised her hand. She spoke when she had something to say. Not because her father was a general, but because her voice mattered. Her story spread, not as gossip, but as a lesson. A reminder that assumptions can wound, and dignity, once broken publicly, must be restored publicly too. General Williams hugged his daughter before leaving. I'm proud of you, he said. For what? She asked. For telling the truth when it was easier to stay quiet. Strength, Amara learned, doesn't always shout. Sometimes it waits patiently for the right moment to stand. Never judge a child's truth by your own limits, because dignity always arrives, even if it wears 4 stars.